On Larry King Now, the Big Bang Theory star Johnny Galecki on life behind the scenes at TV's #1 comedy.
As ridiculous as the sentence is, we take our silly pretty seriously, but we also understand it's important to have a really good time, especially come season 8, 170 some episodes in.
On his decision to sign on for 3 more seasons of Big Bang.
99% of the time, I feel like I'll do this as long as they'll have me, absolutely. As long as the audience will have us, I should say.
Plus, Johnny looks back at his time on another sitcom smash, Roseanne.
That, to me, in my mind, was doing that show, in some ways, was my college, at least for working on television series.
All next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now. Great pleasure. Johnny Galecki's our special guest, the Emmy-nominated actor and producer. Johnny shot to stardom in the 90s, playing the famed character of David Healy on Roseanne. And now, nearly 2 decades later, with numerous other memorable film and TV roles. To his credit, Johnny is in his 8th season on the CBS mega hit The Big Bang Theory. Johnny, of course, plays the role of experimental physicist Dr. Leonard Hofstadter. The Big Bang Theory airs, I have to tell you this, airs Thursdays at 8, 7 Central on CBS. You signed through 10 years?
Yes, yeah.
At what year did they sign you through 10?
Last year. We're halfway through our 8th season now, so we'll have 2 more after this.
What if they go 12?
I wonder. I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, yeah.
Would you go if they went ad infinitum, like a 20-year bonanza?
I don't know. I mean, not 20-year bonanza. 99% of the time, I feel like I'll do this as long as they'll have me, absolutely. As long as the audience will have us, I should say.
Why is this show a humongous hit?
Oh, I think there's many ingredients. I think we reflected some, we didn't create this world and these characters, we created the characters, but we were reflecting a world that was happening out there. When I grew up, scientists were antisocial people who worked in basements and wore coats and worked with Bunsen burners. Now they're in our technology every day, and our technology has almost become fashion accessories. They're the rock stars of the world. They're molding our culture, and I think the society knows that, culture knows that, are aware of it. And we wanted to reflect what those guys are like behind the technology.
And the secret is what's on the page, right?
Oh, always.
Right,
yeah. I mean, you can't, especially when it comes to comedy, you can't get anywhere, you can't get off the ground without a great script.
What is the set like? Is this a happy set?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, we take, as ridiculous as the sentence is, we take our silly pretty seriously, but we also understand it's important to have a really good time, especially come season 8, 170 some episodes in. Part of the responsibility is keeping it fresh and keeping it challenging.
How do you do that?
Give each other a hard time a whole lot. There's a lot of teasing, a lot of pointing fingers and laughing at one, not taking ourselves or the endeavor too seriously.
People assume there's competition among the cast. You say that's far from the truth, right?
It is far from the truth. I'll confess that there's an awareness of comparison, I think. But I think, I would imagine, much like in any sports team, you want more than anything for your teammate to score. You want them to make that goal, and you'll do everything that you are capable of to assist in them making those points. But you're aware of an outside and external comparison that's made in any group. And again, in sports, like your teammate made 18 points this season, why haven't you? That kind of thing. The best thing to do with that is...
2 newscasters at the same network.
Yeah, exactly.
You want the network
they compared the Beatles within the Beatles. I mean, if you're within any group, it's going to happen. The best thing to do with that is just ignore it, because it doesn't serve the storytelling.
Anything surprising going to happen this season?
They keep us entirely in the dark.
You learn script to script?
Literally, we have our live audience taping Tuesday nights. We finish about 10:30. We take our bow in front of the audience, and they hand us a warm manila envelope with tomorrow morning's script in it. And that's the first we've
So
seen.
your character's going to get married.
Really?
Right.
Yeah, this is how I learn stuff.
We're told that your character has pending nuptials.
I would love that.
How do we know it and you don't?
He has proposed. They are engaged, yes. So if all
but you
goes
don't know
well...
if it's going to be consumed.
Right. If all goes well, then...
Consumed.
Yes.
Well, maybe some marriages are consumed.
If all goes as planned, but there's very little comedy in all going as planned, so we'll see.
Do you ever get a script where you say, I'm uncomfortable?
Never. No, never. Not on this show, anyway.
Yeah.
No.
So the writing is always...
We have the utmost 100% trust in the writer. We're really, I mean, these writers are, they, you know, a lot of people can write jokes. These guys carry a torch for these characters. They're protective of them. They relate to them, and we kind of feel like puppets to the writers. You know?
Describe your character.
Struggling, always. Growing, though. I mean, we talked early about these guys evolving and maturing at a snail's pace, which Chuck Lorre was right about. You know, I think selfishly as an actor, you get a role you're excited about and you want to run with it. You want to evolve this guy. You want to see him in every different... When you're given an opportunity to go this long, it's best to be patient with it and kind of stretch out those evolutions. But then there have been times in the show, for example, when Penny broke Leonard's heart, and it would have been unresponsible and unrealistic to not mature him at that point, because such a thing changes you. For good or ill, there's growth there. So there have been spurts like that. He's learned a lot. He's evolved a whole lot.
You never feel lost in this role, then? Yeah, or ever get tired of it?
No, I haven't gotten tired of it yet. I honestly haven't.
That's pretty good.
There's still so much to explore there. I always felt. I knew when I first read the script, and it's been talked about, but initially, before there was even a script, Chuck Lorre and Bill Prady came to me with the idea of playing the Jim Parsons role, the Sheldon character. This is
really?
Long before they had met Jim, or again, before anything was even written. They sent me a few pages to the theater that I was working at in New York at the time, and I read it, and I thought, you know, I'm much rather drawn to this Leonard role because of the dynamic of the heart. I hadn't had a lot of opportunities to play, not that Leonard's a love interest, but the love is someone struggling with that territory of the heart. Yeah. I was cast as the leading man's, the love interest best friend or gay assistant, generally, before.
Tony Randall.
I wanted that opportunity, and I thought they would say, well, then go away. But they said, well, then play that guy. And my instincts were right, because those are my favorite episodes where Kaylee and I get to really delve deep into those complications.
Johnny reflects on his Johnny reflects, Joni.
That's all right. Whatever you want, Mr. King.
Johnny, I'm the god here. Right? Johnny reflects on his Roseanne days and chats about life outside of Hollywood right after this.
Okay, we're headed out. See you later.
Hi, Joe, before you leave, could you help me test these noise-canceling headphones?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me? Sheldon, I haven't changed the filter in the water pitcher in 2 years.
Bernadette's nickname for you is the Virgin Pina Colada.
Your George Lucas autograph is really a me autograph.
Yeah, well, once I was too lazy to walk across the hall, so I used your toothbrush.
Ooh, and one time when you were asleep, Amy totally took off her, and that's why you're the best roommate ever.
Aww. Well, now I'm sad I didn't hear it.
That's a lot of fun.
Thank you.
I mean, it's fun. Is there a lot of pressure when you're on a big hit show? To constantly deliver?
I don't feel it. I mean, maybe I avoid those circles where I might, but I don't pay a lot of. I don't, look at the ratings or the numbers or anything like that. I'm sure. I know the writers feel it. The writers certainly feel it.
What's it like to be enormously successful?
Oh, it's wonderful.
Not bad. Right? In November, you lost a cast member to cancer.
Yes.
and did a touching tribute. Although we never saw her, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What was she
Carol
like?
Ann Susi. What was she like?
Yeah.
Thank you for asking. She was wonderful. She was one of those very unique people that always made you smile whenever she spoke. Always had a great attitude and was just, one of the family.
Did you know she was ill?
No, not at all. It was very, very sudden.
Really?
Yeah.
What did she die of?
I'm not positive exactly. I don't want to speak out of school. I'm not.
So there was shock.
Yeah. It was one of those things too, where she was ill and then she was better, and then she was ill and then she was better, and then she was gone.
You got your break on Roseanne.
Yes.
How'd you get that part?
That came about. I did a television movie called Backfield in Motion with Roseanne, and she took a liking to me, and she asked me to come on and do one episode, then she asked me to do 3 more, and then she asked me to do 3 years, and I ended up there 5 years. So it was kind of interesting. I'd never auditioned for it. It wasn't something that the writers had written and was sent out. There was a big casting breakdown that went out to all the agencies. She said, so we all kind of found it together, she and the writers and I, and the character built upon itself.
Was that a fun show to do?
Yeah, it absolutely. I mean, I was a massive fan of that show. I think that partially informed the writers on the character because, I remember watching the pilot episode in Chicago, sitting on the living room floor of my family's house, and my parents looked at each other after the show and said, "Oh my, it's like the writers are peering through our windows." I mean, it was very similar to the house I grew up in, and we watched it every.
Really?
I mean, it governed when we ate dinner that night. The time that show was on, we were diehard fans. So to be on that stage, I was very intimidated and very quiet. I think it informed the writers of how kind of this very passive, kind of rabbit-like character that kind of hid in the corner.
A lot of people in the business have told me that John Goodman is a great actor.
He's a phenomenal
Underrated.
actor.
People don't talk about him.
I think your friend Al Pacino called him the best actor living in the world.
What was it like working with him?
Incredible. And his commitment, his dedication, that to me, in my mind, was doing that show in some ways was my college, at least for working on television series. Each John and Rose and Laurie Metcalf, equally brilliant and had completely different backgrounds and completely different processes, completely different approaches, and it was a freak science project that it didn't implode every week. It somehow worked, but John's dedication was a massive lesson to me. My parking spot was next to his, and man, I never saw it empty in 5 years. He was there early every day and late every day.
Sarah Gilbert, terrific.
Lovely, yeah, still a very good friend.
And Roseanne, a very talented mind, right?
Incredible mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that show was her baby. A lot of, I think, the fights that she had to fight was her protecting her vision. And maybe she didn't know how best to do that at the time, but it was new to her, and she was learning as she went.
You've said in the past that you like to disappear from Hollywood when you can.
Yeah.
Where do you disappear to?
I wouldn't be disappearing if I told you, would I?
Good point.
I bounce around a bit. I did kind of settle down. I always felt I know you're from New York, and I love it there. I always thought if I ever had the opportunity and the means, I would move to New York. And when that time came a few years ago, the show Big Bang was going into syndication, and I knew there was going to be another big push of marketing and advertising. We were going to be on the sides of buses and billboards again, and I thought maybe a little hideout in the woods is a better idea than Manhattan right now. So just a little Unabomber cabin out where nobody knows where I am. Go up there on the weekends.
That's a weird Unabomber.
And what I asked my accountant, I said, can I afford I don't even think I want like water or power. He said, Johnny, you need water and power. I said, okay, I'll get water.
More with Johnny Galecki after the break. We're going to play a little game here of
All right.
You Only Knew, all right? I just throw
Okay.
things at you.
Love it.
Okay, Johnny, who's the first girl you ever kissed?
Annie B. I'll leave it at that. I don't want to use her full name.
You still know her?
No, but I do know. I was kind of using Annie at the time, at 11 years old, to get to her friend Blythe, who I do still know, who I actually just visited in Indianapolis for her birthday. So it worked out. Thank you, Annie. Blythe and I both thank you.
But now Annie knows that you did this, huh?
I don't think Annie. I'm sure Annie is living a very happy life.
Best piece of advice
With a much better kisser than I was at 11.
Best piece of advice you ever got?
Never trust a turning signal, my father used to tell me. I think he meant that both literally and metaphorically. It was great
Biggest
advice.
jokester on the set of Big Bang.
Simon Helberg. He can't help it. He's just fast. He's funny. It's how his mind works. You don't have to wind him up or turn him on.
Does the cast break up a lot?
Does the cast break
You
up?
break up?
Oh, no, Kunal does, but ironically at his own jokes.
Song currently playing on your iPod.
Oh, I love that Aloe Black album. I think it came out like 10 months ago, but that's all I've been listening to. It's fantastic.
Thing you'd change about the world.
Currently, we got to figure out this same-sex marriage thing. What happened in Alabama last month is just
was that
absurd.
terrible?
It's just I don't understand it all.
That judge, where was he?
Roy Moore.
Yeah.
I mean, so he literally helped me understand. He literally said he ordered the state judges to ignore the federal court's ruling. That makes no that. If you and I were walking on the beach, as you and I often do. Let's say like marijuana was legalized and we decided to smoke a little joint. I don't smoke, but I hear you have good stuff. So in this case, you and I have, and a police officer on a bicycle comes up and snatches it away from us and throws it out and handcuffs us and detains us because he doesn't personally like it. He would be arrested. He would at least lose his job. I don't understand. I don't understand how that's okay.
That thinks the 10 Commandments was in the Constitution. Anyway. Biggest flirt on the set of The Big Bang Theory.
Oh, wow. I like to flirt.
All right, that's good. Are you married?
But I'm not. I don't discriminate. I flirt with everybody.
Are you married?
No.
So you can flirt with them. What was your worst audition?
Oh, wow. You know what I do often, and it drives my agent crazy? I'll go in and tell them what other actor would be really good for the role. I really don't have a competitive streak at all.
You don't have to audition anymore, do you?
Well, sure. It depends on the project. It depends on... Well, I mean, I've proven myself as a physicist, but I haven't proven myself as a cowboy or whatever the new role might... And I've always liked reading. It's an opportunity. If you're not desperate for next month's rent, it's an opportunity to go in and perform for 3 minutes.
You got it made now, so it's great when you don't need the role, right?
When you're not desperate, auditioning can be fun. Otherwise, it's an awful process.
What's the biggest thing you've ever splurged on?
Wow. Things in which I've set up friends and family. I don't require much, and I'm not very materialistic, so...
Me too. Guilty pleasure.
Datelines. I watch a lot of Dateline.
You watch all the Dateline? You like those stories of the guy leaving his wife?
And it really that's it. It should just be called, did she have a husband or a boyfriend? That's pretty much the end of the show. That's usually the guy.
The guy with the white hair, he's always serious. Keith Morrison, right? Yes.
I love his reading. It's like like fireside chats.
Yeah, I know. Show we'd be surprised to hear that you watch.
Well, I just gave that one up. I watch a lot of news shows. I watch a lot of I think when you work it's not relaxing for me to come home from work and watch a sitcom, So I can't read nonfiction, or I can only read nonfiction when I'm working too. I think it's just too much fantasy, too many characters in my head.
What keeps you up at night?
Oh man, I struggle with a lot of anxiety and insomnia.
You do?
Yeah, I always have since I was probably 8 years old. So.
Take Ambien or something?
No, that stuff scares the heck out of me. So I just get up and pace it off. But it can be anything, and like they say, what's stressing you out today, you won't remember 2 weeks ago. So it can be any.
So what does an insomniac do at 3 in the morning?
I pace. I
pace.
I pace circles in my rug. Yeah. Trying to get the energy out and then hopefully get down for a few more hours.
In our final moments, we were flooded with social media questions for Johnny. We'll answer some of them next.
That'll be fun.
Back with Johnny Galecki of Big Bang Theory. Kyle Shelton on Facebook. If you could play one of the other characters on Big Bang Theory, who would you want to play?
I would never propose that. That's terrifying to me.
You wouldn't do it?
No.
Eric Hall on Twitter. Have you ever asked Roseanne or John Goodman to be on Big Bang?
I think Roseanne and Chuck Lorre talked about it for a minute, but then there was some scheduling stuff like that. Not as far as I know.
At SMB06 on Twitter, how good were you at science in high school?
No, even in trying to do research for the show when we first started, I'd get a page and a half into a Richard Feynman book and have an anxiety attack. My brain just doesn't work that way.
At Mrs. Reinhardt on Twitter, what would you like Leonard to do in the future?
Stop thinking in the ways of the grass is always greener. He has a very good life, and he certainly has some wonderful friends around him.
At Alex14 Bullo, did you ever dream of becoming famous?
No. When you start this at 7 years old, you don't do it for the recognition, or maybe you do within your family, but no, you don't do it for the fame or the money, or you just do it for the love of it.
Pathgirl NYC on Instagram, if you weren't a part of Big Bang Theory, what other television show would you like to be on?
Oh, well, not Dateline.
No.
That would spell bad news. Wow. I love Orange is the New Black is something I've loved this year. Mad Men, I absolutely adore. I think Matthew Weiner is an incredible writer.
Sarah G. Girls on Instagram, are you more like Leonard from Big Bang or David from Roseanne?
Boy, really neither. I'm really neither.
No.
I know that because I can gauge that because I've loved playing them both. I feel like the closer your character is to yourself, the more uncomfortable it is to play, and I've just relished in playing both those guys.
Henry Fonda once said, when he did Mr. Roberts on Broadway for 3 years, he couldn't wait to be Mr. Roberts at 8 o'clock because he was so unlike Mr. Roberts.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives you permission to kind of put all of your Johnny stuff aside. Not only permission, you have an obligation, a professional responsibility to let that go, and I get to be this guy for a couple hours.
Lord Godric 25 on Instagram, what's your favorite episode of Big Bang Theory?
Oh, wow. Well, this tribute that you mentioned to Carol Ann, that was really, that was something to me. And not just that we did it, but that I loved how it was executed. I loved how it was written. And I feel like, especially in this format, you really have to earn being that touching and sentimental. And apparently we have, because the response from that episode was really touching.
RDS Heaven on Instagram, would you like to have a Roseanne reunion?
Yes, but not televised.
Joe and Kathy Banfield on Facebook, starting your career at such a young age, was there ever a time when you considered leaving acting for another career?
Sure. Not necessarily by choice. I hadn't worked in about 3 years, and it was getting a little tight. I was selling, sold my cello and stuff like that. A friend of mine said, he's a successful lawyer, my friend Bill in Chicago said, you would be really good at bathroom and spa design. All right. And I said, well, if I go and I learn, I'm going to go to Wisconsin where the Kohler plant is and then learn the plumbing of it all. And I did. I said, if I go learn it, will you help me bankroll it? He said, yeah. And then I was in Wisconsin at the Kohler plant when I got a call to come in and guest star on something, and then that led to my Broadway debut. And while I was there, Chuck called about Big Bang.
How did you start?
With the plumbing?
No, with the acting.
You
started young.
I started talking about it when I was about 3, and that still perplexes me because there was no one in my immediate family that did it. My father worked in the blind center at Heinz VA Hospital outside of Chicago, and my mother had a variety of different jobs, but at the time she was a housewife, and that was my answer when adults asked this 3-year-old, what do you want to be when you grow up? I don't even know how the word actor was in my lexicon. I have no idea. They weren't unsupportive, but they didn't know what to do with this weird ambition, and they tried to dissuade me with t-ball and soccer and things like that. And then there was an article in the local paper that was having open auditions for a theater community production of Fiddler on the Roof, and they said, well, these are open, do you want to go and watch actors audition? This is what they need to do to be in in theater, and the phone doesn't just ring. And I said, sure. And I ended up, of course, running up on stage and
Played a Taylor?
something, and yeah, got some small role in the chorus. And then the Chicago theater community is so supportive and loving that they then kind of showed my parents the ropes of like, well, you need to take photos and things of that nature.
Finally, Johnny, where did you get those frames?
I stole these from a photo shoot a few months ago.
Beautiful.
I swear to God. Thank you very much, sir.
Beautiful. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Ben. Again, real pleasure.
Big thanks to my guest, Johnny Galecki. Be sure to tune in to Season 8 of Big Bang Theory, Thursdays at 8, 7 Central on CBS. As always, you can find me on Twitter at KingsThings. I'll see you next time.